Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome. You know, from time to time, we showcase success stories featuring ordinary people that have lived extraordinary lives. In fact, recently, the iconic Oprah Winfrey stated that a legacy shouldn't be consciously crafted or strategically maneuvered, but it's about every person we've ever touched or empowered in a positive way. It's also every person that we've ever hurt or harmed, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally. Today on the show, we'll be speaking with someone who was actually born into the life of crime and is now devoting his life to changing his legacy and affecting millions in a positive way. We're going to be really blessed with the author and speaker Jeff Hopper's on the show. Amazing guy. And we're also going to be here with my dear friend Ian Norris. He'll be co-hosting. Ian, sharp, dapper guy. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to say that tonight's episode is like a true, real-life Ocean's 11 type story, but with a little different outcome. We're going to be hearing about one of the largest heists of the Stardust Casino, and we'll be talking with Jeff about what it was like to be born into a life of crime, how he was able to pull out of it and turn himself around, and actually what his message now is for others and how we can benefit. Stick with us. We have an amazing show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to tonight's show. I'm joined by my dear friend Ian Norris. Ian, how are you?
Good evening, Dan. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am doing super fantastic. It's long time no see. How's the family been?
Doing well. Very, very busy, as I say every time, but yes, well.
You guys are kind of movers and shakers. You guys are always busy.
I think we're more being swept along than moving and shaking, but anyway.
Okay. Right. And I feel like we haven't hung out in a while. I don't know if I did something to offend you or what, but we need to hang out a little bit more.
I thought your people were going to call my people.
Oh, I'll have my people call your people, and we'll get together. But that's exactly how Brits are, aren't they? They have people. I don't have people, man. I'm still trying to get people. But,
I don't know. Some people you may not want.
Yep. So you've been okay? Everything
yes,
good on the home
yes.
side?
Yeah, doing well, actually. And I've doing a bit of reading lately. And last time I was with you, we had talked just a little bit about some creative business ideas. Yep. And I wanted to pick up on that, if I could, just for a minute or two.
Floor is yours.
Sir Richard Branson was interviewed a while back, and they took some of the things he said and made a little newsletter about it, I guess. Yep. And he brought out some ideas, and if I may just share those with you and your audience. It was called, they wrote the journal and called it The Art of Brainstorming. Yeah. And there were 8 points, but I'm just going to touch on 2 tonight. He said, when it comes to brainstorming, trying to figure out solutions to problems, he said, think outside the box. And to do that, he says, you need to avoid getting into one. What did he mean by that? Well, he went on to say that if you have a problem you need to address and figure out, then don't be forcing the people that are involved in that brainstorming into a specific, shall we say, scheduled brainstorming environment. Yeah. Because brainstorming creativity doesn't work on a timely basis like we may think. Yeah. So he said, you know, go ahead and make those creative moments be at any time of the day. Don't pinpoint them or limit them. Yeah. And then the second one was choose a creative environment. He said some of the best ideas, in fact for him, some of his best ideas came from when he's moving, when he's exercising, when he's traveling, or even just taking a walk. And sometimes that can be more conducive than that stuffy, crampy office environment. Yeah, right. So, you know, don't limit yourself when it comes to this creative brainstorming approach to your business needs.
Yeah, right. Don't put them in a paradigm right out of the gate and say, here's what we're going to get accomplished in the meeting today. Yeah. And I'm telling you, Sir Richard Branson, he's always got some great stuff. I don't know him personally, but we have some mutual friends, and I've heard some stories that I almost have to verify if they're true. But he is, talk about a guy, people say out of the box. I don't even know if he realizes there was a box. He is just really out there. But what I do when I schedule my meetings is I do believe in getting outside and creating different events and things instead of that classroom type thing. I think that you get more accomplished when you get outside and plan some kind of
and for me, you know, being a mainstream inside the box type thinker as I grew up, that's definitely something I've had to learn to adapt to and realize that there are other ways to do it.
Well, and you know, you said that you learned a certain thing. So what you're saying is there's a real concerted effort to kind of change the things that we learn. And I kind of feel the same way, is that, you know, early on we kind of learn these certain things, and you have these tracks that are kind of laid, and then it's difficult later on in life to kind of reverse that and kind of lay new tracks, so to speak. And I'm really excited about tonight's show, because we're talking to a person that the tracks that were laid in this guy's household early on are pretty
They were heading
deep
into
tracks.
a tunnel without an ending.
And so being able to kind of derail and start a new life, it's a phenomenal story. I don't know if you've had much chance to kind of converse with Jeff.
Well, we did talk about it, but I'm excited about this too.
It's one of the largest heists of the Stardust Casino, and we're talking real, like, casino Goodfellas type stuff, you know. But certainly not all have that great ending where everything is happy, you know, roses. But so anyways, let's bring him out without further ado. Author and speaker Jeff Hopper, everybody. Man, great to see you. How are you, brother?
I am great, Dan.
Man,
it
it's
is
good to see you.
absolutely wonderful.
Now, we recently, I was doing a seminar in Lake Charles, and it was really just, things just lined up. You happened to be, I didn't realize you live, what is, half hour from?
Right, just a few minutes from there.
So something came to my mind, and I said, you know, I think Jeff's in that neck of the woods, and it just happened that we were able to get together and spend a day together. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, it was great.
And I'm excited. You know, I knew a lot about your story, and certainly my dear friend Margot, she's been telling me for probably a year about this story. And I have to say, this week I really dug into the nuts and bolts and stuff. And I think all week I was like, I mean, my mouth was open when I was reading some of it. But before we get into it, just talk real briefly about where you were raised. You're originally from
Texas.
From Texas.
Right.
And I read an article today. Tell me if this is true, because you know how online stuff gets. But they said that when you were raised, obviously your father was a pretty hardened criminal.
Yeah.
And he didn't allow a Bible in the house because it really showed kind of weakness. And his philosophy was kind of survival of the fittest.
Right.
Is that right?
That's what it was. It really was. What his mantra was, if somebody wasn't strong enough to hold on to it, they didn't deserve to have it.
Yeah, and I know, like, for instance, in a normal family, you turn 16 and it's like, okay, I need to get some wheels. In your family, it's kind of like, well, I need some car. Well, you have two choices. Go get a job and buy a car, or go steal one, son.
Right.
Somebody else out there is weaker than you. Go get one.
Right.
And that's kind of like the family motto.
It was. I was involved in burglary rings and stealing boats and motorcycles before I could drive one of them, before I was legally licensed.
Wow.
To drive one.
And it wasn't just you. It was really the family. Right. So it was kind of a family business.
I was more the center point of it because I was always the rebellious one. I was always the one in trouble. And so my father decided that he was going to use the nature of his child to accomplish his ends.
Unreal.
And it's just living a life where it's not wrong.
Well, and so many, we talked a little bit about how disconnected you actually
Very much
became.
so.
At one point, you said you were planning this thing. People are running with guns and everything, and you're watching for this armored truck thinking, am I going to have time to get a steak sandwich after the heist? I mean, that's how disconnected
it really was.
people
Yeah,
can
it really
get.
was.
I want to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk about the heist itself and what it took to plan it.
Right.
And, of course, your message now of empowering others. Stick with us. We'll be right back with Jeff Hopper. Don't go anywhere. I promise you. You'll don't want to miss it. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome. I'm here with Jeff Hopper. And, Jeff, we were talking a little bit about growing up in a life of crime. And I want to get to the book. Obviously, you wrote a book kind of telling the story. And the name of the book is?
Thief in the House.
Thief in the House. And the subline is?
It's one man's passion and dreams to make things right.
To make things right. And there was some people hurt along the way. And there was almost some family members and innocent people hurt that you've kind of rectified. But first of all, this is a true story we want to state. And so you grew up in this life of crime. I could say your principles and guidelines in growing up were kind of skewed, to say the least.
A little bit. Just a hair off.
And so, give us a normal thing that, like, a normal conversation between you and your dad. How disconnected was it? It was like, hey, son, today we're going to, instead of like go fishing,
Right.
What would be a scenario in your family?
A typical conversation would be, we need to go time the security guards to see how long it takes them to go back and forth and which ones are going to carry the money bags on their gun holster side.
Yeah.
And over eggs and bacon.
Yeah, just
breakfast.
no big deal.
No, over breakfast and wanting to know should we get another gun or should we get automatic weapons instead of just pistols?
And I'm a real big believer in cause and effect. Actions versus reactions.
Right.
And I think that I had read that you had gotten away with some things for a while. So you had taken some actions, but the reaction of those actions were kind of buffered to where you didn't fully feel the reactions of what you were doing. And so you kind of just kept going and things escalate.
Right. It kept escalating from, like I said, as a juvenile delinquent, and then graduated into narcotics, selling and dealing in cocaine and ecstasy, and was, I hate to say successful in it, but learned how to network with other drug pushers and other people. But that had gotten so out of hand that, as things like that do, it was time to graduate into something else.
Yeah, sure.
To go up to something just higher stakes.
Yeah, sure.
Where the take was not every day, it was one time.
Yeah, and we're done.
We're done.
And we talked a little bit, too, about, you've been interrogated many, many times, and even the art of, controlling your blood pressure and your pulse and your nerves and being able to pass lie detector and those type things. Right. Those are all things that are learned. So, in a normal business setting, you hone your skills. But there's a lot of skills you had to hone for this type of life.
Yeah, there really was. But it also comes as a natural sense. When you lie enough times, you begin to believe it to be true.
Yeah.
To a point where you lie and you lie and you lie and you lie and you believe the lie.
Yeah, sure.
And it doesn't affect you anymore.
Well, and we mentioned this was one of the largest heists of the Stardust Casino. And you had told me just in the green room before we came out that it was robbed twice, actually. Right. If I remember, your father was a security guard, so you had kind of an inside man.
Right.
And your brother, was it your brother robbed your father?
Brother. Right.
Your younger brother.
Yeah.
How old was he at the time?
He was 22.
So a young guy, and he robbed your father, and they got away successfully.
Right, with about $150,000.
So now it's like $150,000, and so now it's like, hey, we can do this again.
Right,
You got away with it.
It was easy. But we needed to do it. We knew that we couldn't keep doing this, and so it needed to be a bigger heist.
Sure. So now you're thinking, hey, this is getting pretty dangerous. We need one big score, and we're out. Right. And probably that would have escalated us.
Well, honestly, actually, we were planning the next one.
Oh, well, okay.
We were planning, there was another money delivery that was going from one city to another that we were going to hit.
Gotcha.
Right after.
So talk a little bit briefly about the heist itself. You guys got away with over $1 million.
Right. It was $1.1 million. And some of the things that happened, for instance, a lot of the several $100,000 was in checks and those things, and we burned them. I sat at a campfire and just lit cigarettes as I was smoking and burned these instruments.
Yeah.
And the planning was as simple as we used a tourist map that the casinos gave out.
Yeah.
We didn't have computers. We didn't have any sophistication. We said, okay, you're going to go here, and this is where the guy's going to come out, light the smoke bombs here when they fill up, and this is what you're going to go do. And we planned it over, sitting at roadside parks and just drawing out what we're going to do. And
wow. And then a family ordeal, a family event.
Yeah. Did that take a long time?
It was over a period of a few months, but really the more time took, we would go and watch the security guards. And if you know people, you watch and say, okay.
Which in that world, you learn people.
You learn people very well.
Yeah, sure.
And you know what guy is going to be the one that will pull his gun. What guy is scared to death and prays he never has to pull his gun.
Yeah, sure.
And what guy is walking with money bags stacked on his shoulder and his gun is on this side.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to pull your gun. But you also have to know that a man who makes $10, $15, $20 an hour and you point a gun at him, he's not going to pull his weapon.
Yeah.
Not for $20? Really? You're going to get shot?
See, you guys just do it, because this is the type of guy, he's very smart. He could mastermind a whole thing. It's good that you're a good guy, because if you were a bad guy, his schedule would be absolutely phenomenal.
I am holding back on some questions.
So I have to ask, your job was actually to kind of time the armored truck, is that right, coming in? And you had mentioned to me that you were so calm, and this is how disconnected over time that somebody could get. you're timing this armored truck, and there's people, they're already in there doing their thing. There's people running, frantically.
I was sitting at the bench on the front of the Stardust, waiting for the armored car to pull in. And I was looking down, baseball cap on, jacket, gun underneath my holster, and thinking about the sandwich, the Philly cheesesteak sandwich that I just had.
Yeah.
And would I
no nerves, no adrenaline.
Would I be able to pick up another one before I caught the plane to go back home to Texas?
Unreal.
And walk through the casino and did what I was, did my part. And as I turned around to walk out, the smoke bombs are going off and people are running and screaming. He's got a gun, they've got bombs, and I'm walking through the casino.
No big deal.
I'm the only person
walking. In fact, you even mentioned that somebody ran into you, frantic, and you were just like, you opened the door for a pregnant woman.
Right, I held the door open.
Strolling through because you just didn't have that emotion.
I mean, it was like, I was visiting the Disney or something. I was just at the park.
Wow.
And that's the thing that's so strange is I'd never had that feeling people portray as that adrenaline rush and all that stuff.
I bet you get more excited at Disney.
Oh, yeah. I love Disney.
Small World will blow your mind. After you guys got away with a little over $1 million, there was a real full-on manhunt. There was interrogations. You guys, of course, like most, they get caught. Right. And was there a little bit of relief when you got caught? Or were you kind of at the end of the line, or was there just anger and regret, saying we should have done it better?
Well, it was anger. How could they have caught me?
Yeah.
How did they catch me? Somebody snitched on me. Somebody turned me in. There's no other way that these cops could have got me.
Yeah, sure. And what I thought was phenomenal about your story was during the interrogation, no one would give up anything. And so the feds or whoever it was, they said, everybody's going to prison. And it was even innocent family members that had nothing to do with it. Your sisters. It's like, we're going to throw your mom. Everybody's going to prison. And your dad's philosophy was,
we all go down as a family.
Hey, yeah, we're all going to go down as a family. So now you have mom and sisters. They didn't even have anything to do with this. Everybody's going to prison now. And I think that was one of the turning points that said, you know what? I'm here because of my behavior and my bad choices. But now you have innocent people that are going to do prison. And Dad's just, it's okay.
He's lost it.
Yeah.
And that was determined when I told the prosecutor that on the condition that I will plead guilty and testify as long as he never gets out.
So you have to go state's evidence. You have to testify against your father.
Right.
And it wasn't, I want to mention, it wasn't to get a reduced sentence. It was really, it's the right thing to do. We can't let these innocent people go to prison. But it didn't really stop there. It wasn't like this conversion where now you're this great guy. Talk a little bit about the list that you used to carry around with you.
When I first got into the prison compound, by nature of the association, the people that are there are people just like me. I began to make a list of everybody who, and all the way back into junior high, who had ever done me wrong. And my sole intention, it was 3 lines per person, their name, what they did, and what I was going to do when I got out.
So not just who's going to get it when I get out of here, but there was so much anger. It's like, here's exactly what I'm going to do to this person deserving of.
I had 5 pages, front and back.
Wow.
People's names.
Everybody, that's a list you would not want to get on.
That was about 100 names of people. I mean, everything from high school bullies to cops to everybody. Everybody who had done
everybody's getting it when I get it.
I'm going to make headlines again.
Well, and talk a little bit about what was your primary motivation that really just changed your heart and really did help you get out of this hatred and start thinking about loving people and empowering people?
It really, I'd grown up without church, without really knowing what that was about, and it was a ministry that came to the prisons, and they were doing things with no reward. There was nothing involved for them. They were not going to get anything out of it. I was a convict. I had no money. There was nothing I could do for them. But
why are you helping me? You're not getting
exactly.
anything
It's like you're a fool. What are you doing? But they knew exactly what they were doing because the one weakness, the only spot I had was my daughter.
Yeah.
She was about 5 years old when I went to prison. And that ministry, the one thing that they knew to do, it was right at Christmas time, and I received a letter from her about the gifts and about God's forgiveness and about how...
At 5?
At 5. I still have that letter today.
Wow. And I know in the letter she was saying that she forgave you and that she was happy that you were, learning about God and turning your life around.
Right.
and that now you kind of say, you know what, she's giving me a second chance.
Right.
I got to make this count. And that was kind of your real thing to help.
You know, if I had enough courage to do the things that I had done up to that point, then I could face anything. I could face whatever it took to make my life right and live a life that my daughter could respect who I am.
Yeah.
For nothing else, for nobody else.
And I know that you actually got into that role of chaplain and helping others that were in your situation in that dark place.
Right. Ended up in '99, I was in a very severe accident, nearly took my life. It took me about a year to learn to walk again. And in that time, I decided, of course, it was time to make changes, but got my education, went to seminary, became a hospice chaplain, and then those doors closed. But now I volunteer and go into the prison systems to tell them the same thing. Yeah. It's just man up, stop your whining, and do the things it takes to be a respectable person.
Do you notice, excuse me, John, do you notice a particular response more often than others when these people you're talking to realize you went down the same road that they're currently on, that you're actually speaking from experience?
It really does make a difference when you go in and speak to these men, or anybody, you know, that's been down the road of addiction, of narcotics, of crime, and those things they get lost in. Yeah. When I can say to them, you know, I'm coming back into this prison. That's a place that you can be. Yeah. Free from these things that control you. You absolutely do not have to live in that. And so, you know, the identification, they say that, you know, you live a different life. You make the choices to do that. And always the other thing is that men with children is, where are you leading the people in your life? Right. You're going to lead them to this jail cell? Yeah. Is that where you're going to take them? Yeah. Because if that's what you're going to do, take that child by their hand and walk them down into that same place and lock them up.
And you did some how long were you in?
I was in 4 years.
4 years. Yeah. And real quick, I want to say, I mean, first of all, you have an amazing platform, my friend, because now you can actually reach people that I necessarily might not be able to reach, or Ian, but you could say, look, I've been here. There's no life in it. And let's talk very briefly about the book. Okay. Obviously, I think what inspired you to write this book was to give back and help people kind of learn from the road you've taken. But talk a little bit about the book.
Okay. The book, in a lot of ways, is very much, through many of these things, you're really sitting on my shoulder. Yeah. Walking through the robberies, walking through the heists, the drug deals, the everything that I could, where you were really seeing this is what it's like. Yeah, it's hairy. Yeah, that, you know, I've had guns to my head so many times I've lost count. I really don't even know how many times it's happened. But then it walks you through everything that transforms in there. So you basically stay on my shoulder through it all. Yeah. And to get a look at, if you can find your place along that path, then come along with me. Yeah. That all you have to do is find where you belong. And maybe it's drugs, maybe it's whatever it is, but you find your spot and connect to it.
I have to ask real quick, I've actually been in the process of writing a book as well, and sometimes when you take yourself mentally back to that place, it has a different effect than you anticipate. And it's a very therapeutic but emotional process. Did you go through that? It's really, really painful. Yeah. And that's probably the biggest challenge, that one, you have to wade through that again. Yeah. Realizing your failures, the things you did wrong, the people you hurt. But in that, though, knowing that although you're walking through that again, that there is light at the end of the tunnel in this one. You're not going to relive it. It is going to end. And a lot of times what you end up having to do is in the sense of burying it. Yeah. That old man, that old person, it has to die and never become that again. And we anticipate the book will be out. I know it's written and it's in the process of being edited. It's the final stage. So we anticipate it being out when? Mid-September. Mid-September? September sometime. All right. Well, we'll keep you posted on that. I'm going to buy the first copy. I promise you that. Yeah. And from what I hear, you're quite a writer. I know that it's really turning into a career, and not only that, but speaking and empowering others. And I have to say that, you know, it's really been amazing to see the transformation of where you come from. And I even had one of the producers from the show backstage pull me aside and say, there's something about his eyes that's just so peaceful and calming and just so genuine about him that you can tell that there really has been a transformation. And I want to mention real quick too that there's also already negotiating talks of this turning into a film.
Right.
So it's well done, and I know that you're going to change the lives of many.
Thank you, Dan.
And I'm so happy that you were able to turn
Delighted
things
to meet you.
around.
Good.
Jeff Hopper, everybody. And guys, that's our show. Thank you to Ian for co-hosting. And don't forget to get involved in your local community and be forgiving of others. Good night, everybody. Hi, I'm Dan Vega, and thank you for watching our channel. I want to take a second to tell you about a resource that's helping thousands of people across the country, Blue University. Blue University is the premier online business school for entrepreneurs and business leaders. You know, if you find yourself in a day-to-day grind where you've lost your joy or you're just tired of struggling, then check out blue.university. That's BLU.university. I can promise that you receive nothing short of a multi-million-dollar education. And if you want a completely different life in 3 to 6 months and a way to create wealth in 5 years or less, then again, check it out. That's BLU.university. Find out why blue is the new color of success. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel or to give us a good rating, but that's only if you see value. And when you do receive value, make sure to share it with someone else. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.